Welcome to Covenant of Justice. I'm attorney Isaiah Jerez, and every other week we sit down with remarkable individuals of Southern Nevada who make this such a wonderful place to live. Together, we explore a wide range of topics that matter to the people of Las Vegas and beyond, offering a glimpse behind the glamour of the Strip to showcase the real stories, experiences, and voices that shape our community. Welcome to Covenant of Justice. Today we have Russty Scott with us. He is a motorcycle safety specialist at CSN. He's going to share with us some safety tips and education for e-scooters and e-bikes. Russty, thanks for coming here today. We appreciate you coming in and taking time to kind of educate us a little bit about e-scooters, e-bikes, kind of these new devices that in large part kids are using, but also a lot of adults are using them as transportation to get to the store, or get to work, or transport the kids even, right?
Yeah. CSN, I'm a motorcycle safety specialist there. We got a grant, and just seeing how many deaths there are, injuries, and a lot of them are going unreported just because, hey, mom, I crashed my scooter. Now I'm in trouble for crashing my scooter. So they aren't even getting reported for the level that we think they are. And if you look at the charts, crashes for especially the e-devices is going way up in comparison to where just regular bicycles were. And part of the reason there is just recently they separated the two. Previous to, I believe, last year, everything that was a two-wheeled, you can pick it up kind of a vehicle was just called a bicycle as far as stats were concerned. So we're now starting to get a lot of that data. Hey, scooters, e-bikes, other e-vehicles, so those either one wheel or the electric unicycles, they all, how do we differentiate between those, and can we make stuff safer for them? So
Okay, and the big focus is, number one, okay, the drivers have to be aware of it, but then as you,
yes,
kind of where you step in is, okay, what can I do to help train people to be more confident, safer when they're utilizing these devices?
education for road use is kind of terrible in America for how much we have the fascination or addiction to cars. The fact that there's a way that you can get your driver's license without ever having to do an actual education class. You just go in, take a test, and you're able to drive. Still baffles my mind. Because I'll talk to people literally within CSN's office where I work, and I'm like, you shouldn't be driving your e-scooter on the street at 20 mile or on the sidewalk at 20 miles an hour. You should be in the street. And they're like, but you don't put a scooter in the street. That's dangerous. You're going 20 miles an hour. There's a fire hydrant in the middle of that sidewalk and people walking there. If you run into somebody at 20 miles an hour, it doesn't matter if it's a scooter or not. Sidewalks are for walking. So the education there for the entire usage of roads is just not as good as it needs to be in the US.
Okay, and you're talking about education for the people that are actually using the devices.
It's users of the devices and just users of the roads. So pedestrians, when they see somebody on a scooter, car users, you're getting a lot of people who still just pull forward. They look left because they're going to be turning to the right. So you got to check traffic that way. And you'll have people coming down on scooters on the sidewalk going right in front of that car. And the car driver never looks to the right to check for somebody on a pedestrian. We honestly don't have that many pedestrians around here. I'm not sure, but it's Las Vegas. It gets hot. But we're starting to get a lot more uses where this is commuting. Like you were saying, my girlfriend commutes on an e-scooter a little over 10 miles both ways on her scooter. And you can, like, I've been on a headset in her helmet with her, and I could count, just like sit there and tally the number of people breaking rules that I honestly believe the driver didn't know was a rule. Like, the scooter should be in that lane of traffic. You have to still stop at the stop sign because that scooter has right of way. They don't have a stop sign. They're just a regular vehicle.
Yeah, and it goes back to your point. Okay, so if someone is driving one of these e-devices, a scooter, one of the e-bikes, they shouldn't be on the sidewalk, they should be on the road. But then oftentimes there's that balance where, well, I can't be on the road because it's just way too dangerous to be on the road because these cars aren't abiding by the laws, right? There's no shoulder. I'm riding on the road, and
And the
then they're
infrastructure
pushing
around
you
here is
off the
really
street.
cruddy
Yeah.
for bikes, which e-scooters, e-bikes are supposed to be using. There's a lot of roads where you'll get on it and it has a good bike lane. And then that disappears. Now you have signs that say go ahead, right in the road, and that in within 3 other blocks disappears to literally a gravel one-way road, and then it comes to 5 lanes again like 4 blocks later. The streets around
Mhm.
this town are a little weird.
Yeah.
But
So how do you balance that out, right? So you're teaching somebody
yeah,
about this, but they're in their mind saying, okay, if I ride on the road, I'm gonna be a bigger threat of getting hit if I instead of riding on the sidewalk.
but you're not in a bigger threat of being hit because you're going at the speed of traffic. Your bicyclist, when you're
Mhm.
learning how to ride a bike and you're in your cul-de-sac, that would be the time, okay, go ahead, ride on the sidewalk. You're going 3, 5 miles an hour because that's all that little bike with the training wheels will do. Soon as you start looking at e-bikes, class 1 and class 2 e-bike, they are capped out at 20 miles an hour. So they're not going to go faster than that without you pedaling. And you're rarely going to find even competitive bikers maintaining 20 miles an hour unless they're professional. But a class 3 e-bike can go 28 miles an hour with just a little bit of pedaling. You're barely using any personal energy, and that's just shy of 30. That crash, if you got head-on collision, is still a 60 mile an hour ish kind of energy impact that we're going through, and the roads are set up for that with you driving in the lane of traffic.
Along with traffic is where
Correct.
they're supposed to be riding.
Yeah, and at 30
Mhm.
miles an hour, with a lot of the streets that, for instance, my girlfriend commutes on, she picks the streets that top out at 30, 35, so that she's not trying to run down, you know, Cheyenne where it's a 50 mile an hour posted speed limit. That's not a safe route for her. So she's modified her route for some smarter rides. How much of that is being told to someone who's just got their e-scooter from literally Target for Christmas and you're going to school? There's 12-year-olds getting vehicles that go 20 plus miles an hour and not a bat in the eye because it looks like their little Razor scooter they got when they were 10. So it's the exact same, right?
But the rest that you say that they're associated with it, just the speed, the acceleration, right?
The
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 the, the ability to
capability,
accelerate so
yeah.
quickly and then be in someone's blind spot.
And I don't expect a 12-year-old
Mhm.
to know the rules of the road. That's the education's not there for that younger side. So if we go back to the e-bike side of things, they do have different classes for the different capabilities in it. And class 3, you have to be 16 and you have to be wearing a helmet in order to ride a class 3 bike.
And the class 3 bike, what is that distinction? I think you said class 2
It
goes up
needs
to
to have
28
pedals.
miles.
It needs to have
Yeah.
a seat that you
Yeah.
sit on so it looks like a bicycle. It functions
Mhm.
like a bicycle. And then while you're pedaling, the pedal assist can get you up to 28 miles an hour.
Mhm.
Um, so back,
And that's 16 years old, but no licensing
you don't need a
requirements.
license for an e-bike.
Yeah.
Um, as soon as you start looking at anything that can do 20 to 30 miles an hour that is a not doesn't have pedals, it's technically would be classified as an moped. So back when mopeds first came out in the, I believe, 70s, 80s time frame, you saw a lot of people putting a little tiny engine on a whatever frame. It would be able to do some speed where sidewalks aren't safe, so they wrote all those rules. But they haven't been flushed out for the ability to buy literally something that weighs 10 pounds. You didn't have to wrench on it at home, and all you do is you plug it into a wall. Um, so there's a lot there that the laws just haven't caught up with what the market is able to do.
Right, and so right now, I guess the first point is, okay, kind of delineate that age, right? 16-year-old hopefully is gonna have a little bit more,
S-
capacity in their mind to
If
evaluate risk than a 12-year-old maybe, but then at least, I mean, you gotta set a line
you
somewhere,
got to
right?
set a line
Yeah.
somewhere, and if the US has decided 15 and a half, 16 is where you can get a
Mhm.
driver's license, that should be about the time the brain's developed enough they can start making some of those cost risk benefits of, hey, I'm late for school, but do I want to go through this intersection while there's moving traffic? In a lot of cases, the research says that 12-year-olds don't have that ability to do that. And this is very much hugely generalized. So your 12-year-old may be that smart because you've worked on stuff with that, but as a population, where do we decide to draw that line?
Yeah, and personally, right, I ride my bike quite a bit, right? Bicycle, and I've ridden in the road. I hardly ever ride on sidewalks, right? And unless there's like a risk that I just
Yeah.
can't manage, right? But even my children, ever since they were little, I've kind of encouraged them to ride in the road because what you're talking about when someone's riding on the sidewalk and as soon as they come off the sidewalk, the cars aren't looking for that. Cars aren't ready for that. And looking that left, they don't look right again, like you're pointing out.
The way I
And
like
it,
teaching it is if it says walk in it, you should be walking the vehicle
Mhm.
or going walking pace. So, crosswalk, sidewalk, walk the vehicle. The reason I point out the
Mhm.
crosswalk is a lot of intersections won't notice a small vehicle. So e-bike, e-scooter, or your bicycle, and you've probably had to
Mhm.
go and hit the crosswalk button to get it to notice so you could cross the street. If you're going across on that
Mhm.
sidewalk, you should be walking. Even a bicycle, how much avid bicyclists do that or just sit there still clipped in and playing that,
Mhm.
but you should be going the speed and able to do what a pedestrian would be able to do as far as evading things happening around you. um, Most likely another pedestrian on that same crosswalk.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And so again, focusing back on what CSN is doing right now, right? Because it's the education piece. What can we do, right?
yeah.
Maybe, we can't prevent these items from coming out and being accessible, but what can we do on the back end and educating? And what does that look like?
So for us, our class right now is a 2 hour, it takes about e-course. We send you a link. Very, very smarter than me people have written the curriculum and gotten the website to work it to get a lot of that information about how the vehicles handle and some of the legality of them. So for the e-bike side of things, what the different classes are in a way that we don't have to slow down the entire class for, you can do it on your own time kind of thing. And then we actually do a 2 hour in class, and we're trying to do as much of that with facilitating the conversation between students and let them come to those same conclusions of, hey, this may not be the safest point to do this, or maybe if I do, like I was talking about, change my path of travel a little bit so I take roads that have some of that infrastructure built in, some of those kind of conclusions. But if you haven't been taught that, it's kind of hard to figure some of that stuff out.
So bringing them in, kind of walking through those scenarios, having that risk analysis so that when they are confronted with the situations, at least they've played out some type of scenario in their mind
Yeah, and
beforehand.
especially our valley's a little weird. We've got technically three different cities that all have a patchwork of where Clark
Mhm.
County kicks into not. If you want to add, you can add Boulder City and even all the way out to Pahrump in that kind of mix of how do they decide what's going on. So where the boundaries are, what the differences is, because Henderson does have some different rules than Vegas proper does, um, and then also trying to stay up on it because they've just recently been putting things out, um, even just like 6 months ago, on changing some of those rules. And my guess is within the next year or two, they're going to change again just because the technology is progressing faster than legislation has been able to. And definitely way faster than infrastructure could help. So there's a lot of work to be done, both on the education side, but I do think we could, as a county, as a state, get a lot smarter in how we're building some of the rest of how we do things. Just because it's way cheaper to get an e-scooter. If I'm only going one direction, I don't have to do car payments. Why am I buying a car if I can get to work just fine and it's $200-$600? And that, you could buy a new scooter every 6 months and still make off way cheaper than even a motorcycle brand new, and
Yeah.
especially a car brand new.
Plugged into the wall, no need for insurance.
And if you're in an apartment situation, an electric car doesn't make as much sense. You can't plug it in at home very easily, depending on your apartment. There aren't really easy. I could just pick up an e-scooter or the battery out of an e-bike, walk upstairs and charge it. That does bring up some charging questions in how good batteries are. I'm sure you heard of lithium battery fires,
Yeah.
and it's just as much of a problem on your small scooters and e-bikes. The thing about the inexpensive ones is they are really accessible, but there's also no certification or guarantee that a lot of those use for the quality of the batteries they're using. So that's another thing the class goes into, is educating what certifications and specs you're trying to have your helmet manufactured to, the batteries manufactured to. I believe that's UL 7727. And then the actual vehicle. So can it charge? Is this charger rated for actually being used on that battery? Has that entire system been looked at by someone who actually understands how lithium-ion batteries create endangered fires? Or is it just, I got it on the internet? Not to keep bringing my girlfriend up, but she got an e-scooter and it was having some problems, so she got another battery pack. She'd been using the crud out of it, so batteries end up degrading over time. Not that big of a deal, but when they got her the battery, it had been damaged in shipping. There were cracks in the casing for the battery, and you could like literally poke your finger inside it. That's not what you want out of a battery, in case you were wondering. But she calls or emails support, and support's like, yeah, plug it into the scooter and tell us if it works. And she's like, confirmation, you want me to plug in a damaged battery into my scooter after charging it? Yes, please. I'm not doing that. She no longer has that scooter because we don't trust a company that uses that methodology as far as their, hey, what's good and safe. So we're definitely, as a cadre just at CSN, trying to get the knowledge in, because there isn't really a good, hey, how does the battery side affect things? You can go and talk to some of the shops, but there's really only 2 shops in the Vegas Valley that focus on e-vehicles. A lot of your bike shops will sell you an e-bike, some of them maybe even an e-scooter, but they may not be able to fully service e-scooter tires or do anything with the batteries. So you got to go to a specialty shop, and then that shop is able to do some of that, but they're also trying to sell stuff. So the fact that you can today, walk in and buy a 70-mile-an-hour scooter, that's a motorcycle, legally speaking.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Yeah, and you're talking about a scooter that you stand up on.
It's a scooter you stand on. I think it's got slightly above 10-inch wheels. It does have suspension in it, but it'll do 70 out of the box from the factory. And that's not even getting into modding and how easy it is to mod some of these vehicles.
And again, you're advocating these types of devices, right? I mean, they make sense. They make economic sense. They make sense for people. You yourself, I think it's been, what you said, 9 years since you've
Yeah, since I had a
driven
car.
a car, right?
I
And
drive a car. My dad's
yeah,
got one. I have access to it, but I haven't needed to buy one because I have two wheels and it does everything I need it to. So when I need to, I'll call up dad and be like, "Hey, dad, can I borrow the car? I gotta pick up more than my bike will do right now."
yeah. And the amazing part about it, right, is you look at the stats, the mortality rate of people who use their motorcycles for commuting. And I think it's like 40% within the first 5 years, but you're 9 years. How do you stay safe out there personally, right? Just
Education,
anecdotally.
the way I like thinking about it is I'm aggressive about being defensive. So I'm going to aggressively pursue putting my vehicle in the most defensive, gives me the most options in case X, Y, or Z happens in front of me. I already have plans. And the only way to start thinking about that is really do a lot of the safety courses. So, as far as the motorcycle safety side of things go, that's been built up because motorcycles have been around for over 100 years. MSF, Motorcycle Safety Foundation, has really, really good curriculum that mixes both the how do you physically control the vehicle so you can put it where you want it, but also how do you need to be structuring your ride so that you can ride as safely as possible. Looking forward, planning ahead, how far does it take to actually stop? There's none of that for e-scooters and e-bikes. Um, when you start talking about bicycling, they're still just trying to get helmets on kids' heads.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing we talk about in class is a helmet will keep you safer. We can fix a broken arm. We can help you with a back that's been messed up, but can't fix a broken brain. So you got to protect your head. And especially at the speeds that you're seeing on a lot of those e-vehicles, not even a bicycle helmet's good enough. You need a motorcycle helmet for those speeds. Not just because it covers significantly more. So I jokingly say I wear a full helmet because my girlfriend likes my face and I want her to
Mm,
still like my face if anything bad
mm,
happens. But a bicycle helmet just covers the top part of your head. The NTS standard will cover a little bit more, and they are rated for e-bike speeds, but that's 20 miles an hour. That's not the 30, 40 that you're seeing out of some of these vehicles that are just like, yeah, you can just buy it online. It'll show up at your day in 3 doors, or three
hmm
doors at. It'll show up at your door in 3 days. There we go.
Yeah. Yeah. And so continued reminders, right?
Yeah.
Like you're talking about get the education, but then you're continually getting reminded, continually playing those roles through your
Yeah.
mind or trying to figure out what's going to happen and those risks that are associated with it. Um, and how do you express that to the general public, right? To make sure that they kind of follow that same path, right? Just
Um,
keep
the
practicing, right?
the reason we have an e-bike and an e-scooter class separated is because most people who get bikes deal with them like they're a bicycle. There's a little bit more of social understanding on that side. And an e-bike has had the rules written out for it long enough, the class one, class two, class three, that there's some understanding there. Whereas the e-scooter side of things, it, I mean, you guys have probably gone visiting and you see a bunch of scooters that you can just rent for tap your credit card on it and you can ride it around a vacation spot or New York City kind of a thing, right?
With no helmet.
With no helmet, there's no
Yeah.
way to put a helmet on it, and like half the time they just left fall over in the middle of the street, which makes other people riding there very safe. Um, the I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, you're talking about the reason why you have a separate scooter
Yeah,
class.
but they do handle significantly differently than how a bike feels. You can't take your hands off of a scooter going 10 miles an hour, less alone the 20 that is legal in this state. And a lot of the scooters that you're able to get, they don't have any restriction on that. They may say, hey, you can stop at 20, but you press two buttons, and they advertise you can press two buttons, and it'll go up to 32
Mm,
or 40. So the abilities that we're getting out of these vehicles. Also, how do you define a scooter? Like, is it just any e-vehicle that you stand on? Well, what if it only has one wheel?
Mm-hmm.
What if it has a seat? Well, that looks a lot more like a bicycle, but it doesn't have pedals.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to wrap it up, I mean, if you know, this isn't going to stop, right? And again, we're not trying to make it stop.
No.
We're encouraging it, right? But in a safe manner. If you had 30 seconds with somebody, what would be your biggest piece of advice to them?
You've got to ride like the vehicle, or you've got to drive the vehicle like what it's capable of doing. So if it only goes 5 miles an hour, your kid can ride it on the sidewalk. If it goes 20 miles an hour, you need to be on the street. If it goes 40, great. Get a motorcycle helmet, get a motorcycle license, so you know how a smaller vehicle is used on our streets, and go ride your vehicle. From when I've been talking with the police, this is not by all means, not a go out and do it, but they're really trying to hit the people who are doing stunts, who are popping wheelies, jumping on and off curbs, crossing streets willy-nilly. If you are riding within what your vehicle type should be doing, so 20 miles an hour, that's on the street, and you've got good safety gear on, you're following all the laws of the road, they're not going to bug you. But you got to remember, hey, if I want that scooter that goes 30 miles an hour, it's a moped. So you need to have a driver's license. They may not right now be really hard on does it have mirrors and does it have licensing, because there's no way for the scooter company to put a VIN that the DOT cares about. So trying to get it licensed right now, that's a huge gray water. Just as far as like, can I actually put a moped license on a scooter, a one-wheel, e-bike that goes 40? As soon as you start getting into those faster speeds above 30, that's definite motorcycle as far as the law is concerned, but we're still that same problem. There's no way to license that. There's no way to insure that. So at least have a driver's license. Ride with the best safety gear that you can budget for, at least a helmet. Especially for the e-scooter and that kind of side, I would really suggest gloves and a jacket as well, because a small bump, you got a wheel about this big. I got potholes 3 times that size. So when your front wheel goes down 4 inches and your axle is below the level of that pothole, that wheel just stops and you're going head over tail. The geometry doesn't give you any other options there. I would love to get a system and actually start training people on those vehicles and actually have some range time riding, both e-bikes and e-scooters, and get some time doing swerves and quick stops and a lot of the stuff that will allow you to be safer. But right now, just get a helmet on your head, ride in the direction of traffic, follow the laws, and be where people expect that kind of a vehicle to be. And then we also got to teach everyone else that is the place they're supposed to be. So that I've had people literally pull over in front of us just because no, you got to be on the sidewalk. Why aren't you on the sidewalk?
Yeah, you're not paying taxes.
You're
off the road.
I'm paying taxes. It's not gas tax, but I'm paying the rest of my state taxes. But they'll literally pull out in front of us when we're on the e-scooter because there is a sidewalk available, and they'll pull over and stop in front of us just about, and then put their blinker on and take a left turn just to make a point that we weren't in the right spot. So the education on all sides needs to get better, and doing this is definitely going to help, but it's going to take everybody a lot of learning. So
yeah, thanks for coming today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, dude, it was great.
Yeah.